do you manage the resistance from high executive to TQM?
Well, this is an issue that we'll talk about a little later in terms of reinventing or re-engineering the company. If you have strong resistance from the senior level of your company, it's going to be very difficult to succeed with the total quality management process. I think you have to find out from that senior manager what is his or her hot button issue, that issue that's going to get them to support quality. It may be a financial statement, it may be increased productivity, it may in fact be fewer employees to do the job, but there is some issue that that senior executive is concerned about, and it's imperative that you find out what is going to get that senior executive on board. Otherwise, the effort will never succeed to the level that you would like it to succeed. George?
Yeah. I would suggest that when you have problems with your CEO, that you begin to think like a CEO, as Tom was pointing out. Really take a look at what is driving him, what are his concerns, and so forth. As Deming has pointed out, it's very difficult to change a company from the inside. And that's why Deming's, one of his premises is that in order to go into the TQM process, you may well need outside help. People get easily intimidated inside companies, but by having outside help, diplomatic outside help, you can start leading some opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. I have another question from Paraguay. What are the experiences with TQM from developing countries? But we're going to leave this question until later, and we're going to continue now with our program. Mr. Hinton will now commence his presentation, but we can receive more questions during our next session.
It's a pleasure to be with you today to discuss quality, and specifically how you can mobilize the human potential in your company to increase your customer satisfaction levels and profitability. Since 1985, when I first began my work in the areas of customer satisfaction and total quality, I have believed in two overriding principles. First, I believe that most employees are good people, and they take pride in doing a good job. When management rewards, recognizes, and trains its employees, their pride, performance, and productivity will increase. Secondly, the most important reason for implementing a quality process in your company is that you cannot acquire and maintain customers unless you practice total quality. Let's begin to examine the human side of quality with a simple exercise. I have here a compass, and it is pointing to true north. Let me ask you a question. Where is true north? Please raise your right hand and, using your index finger, point in the direction of true north. Now, I realize you're without a compass, but try to use your best judgment and point to wherever you think true north is. If you look around the meeting room, you will notice that there are many different directions we are pointing in. But according to my compass, the exact direction of true north is here. I introduced this exercise because locating true north is much like the challenges we face in defining quality in our companies. If your organization is similar to those we work with around the world, I suspect everybody in your company has a different interpretation of what quality is. And not only do your employees have a different interpretation of what quality is, but so do your managers, and so do your customers. Furthermore, everybody has a different idea of how to achieve it, just like everybody attending this program has a different notion as to the exact location of true north. Is it any wonder why so many executives and managers are struggling to define quality and create a total quality process that will work for their company? Unfortunately, too many organizations embark on a poorly chartered quality journey without first analyzing the human side of quality. Managers fail to ask their employees, suppliers, or customers how they would structure a quality process that works. They never ask themselves, how will this new quality process affect our people? How will it affect our suppliers? How will it affect our customers? Will it make us a more productive and a more profitable company? Just like discovering the exact location of true north, do not be surprised if your employees are not moving in the same direction when it comes to implementing your quality process. In our own frantic pursuit to keep pace with the demands of a changing global economy, we have all but forgotten that quality, first and foremost, isn't really driven by statistical processes, but rather it's driven by people who perform tasks and in so doing ensure positive results for our customers and guarantee that the statistical processes are accurate the first time and every time. So, what does it take to achieve meaningful quality results? Today, I would like to share with you a 5-step process my consulting firm, the Customer Relations Institute, recommends to its clients for creating a successful customer-focused quality process. Secondly, I want to give you 3 rules for creating a unified direction for your quality process. For the past 7 years, I have worked with companies that vary in terms of their number of employees, products, service, revenues, management styles, and industries. My mission has always been the same: to help them implement a successful quality process or customer satisfaction program that results in more customers and higher profits. Although each of these companies is unique, the 5 steps for creating a successful customer-focused quality process never changes. They are universal in their application. The 5 steps are: number 1, listen to your customers, employees, and suppliers by conducting ongoing assessments and feedback forums. 2, establish quality standards that meet or exceed your customers' expectations. 3, educate and train your people in the ways of quality. 4, measure results, and give frequent positive feedback to your employees and suppliers regarding your quality and customer satisfaction efforts. And number 5, reward and recognize your people for their efforts and accomplishments. In our new book, Customer-Focused Quality, What to Do on Monday Morning, my co-author, Winnie Schaefer of Motorola, and I, we write extensively about these 5 steps. And we also provide numerous examples of companies that are achieving outstanding results with this 5-step process. It isn't enough to simply take these 5 steps and expect your people to work miracles. You also need to follow 3 rules to help you create a unified direction for total quality. These 3 rules will make your quality journey an easier road to travel, one that is not fraught with curves and dangerous hazards along the way. But before I offer you my 3 rules, let me first give you my definition of quality. It is a very simple definition, and its simplicity drives the academicians crazy. I define quality as follows. Quality is the ability to meet or exceed your customers' expectations on a consistent basis. I believe this definition says it all, and it says it in only a few words. The key word in this definition is consistent. I believe consistency is what separates the outstanding companies from their competition. In the United States, consistency of performance is what ultimately earns a company the coveted Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. In Japan, the Deming Prize is premised on consistency and one's ability to achieve statistical perfection in the manufacturing process. Many other countries, including Mexico, have their own national quality awards. The winners of these various national awards must also demonstrate consistency in their performance. To me, this is the one area where companies have the most difficult challenge, getting their people to perform on a consistent basis. Because human beings are not like robots. We cannot program our employees to come to work motivated and perform perfectly. And this leads us to rule number 1. Rule number 1, your management must be committed to achieving the highest level of quality. Unless your executives live and breathe quality, no one in your company will embrace the principles of quality. Leaders must be role models. They cannot fake their way through the quality process. Whenever the ego gets in the way, quality will take a back seat, and you can be sure the commitment to quality among your rank and file employees is weak. True leaders understand that quality applies to all aspects of their professional and their personal life. If you want an example of how ego nearly destroyed a company, consider the fate of IBM, or consider the series of problems General Motors suffered before new management replaced the old guard. Managers cannot hold to traditions that customers no longer hold sacred or important. This is why management must be flexible and receptive to change. Isn't this why so many quality-driven companies have eliminated the exclusive executive dining rooms and reserved parking spaces for senior managers? These outdated corporate privileges are relics of an extinct management mindset. A truly committed leader does not tolerate these symbols which only send mixed signals to the employees and create the perception of a double standard, one set of standards for management and a different set of standards for everyone else. A truly committed leader is one who walks the shop floor and knows his or her employees by first and last name. A truly committed leader is one who leads by example and expects nothing less from his managers. This is the kind of leadership I've witnessed at Federal Express and AT&T Universal Card Services. It is also the reason these companies have succeeded in my next rule. Rule number 2, you must cultivate winners and champions in your company. Every successful quality-driven company we have ever worked with or written about had at least one or more quality champions. But a quality champion cannot exist or survive unless senior management is committed to a total quality process. What is a quality champion? My co-author, Winnie Schaefer, and I created this term several years ago because we found that the most important step in creating customer-focused quality was to encourage your employees to champion the quality process. Thus, we created the term quality champion. Winnie and I define the term champion as a person who is the first to speak out, the first person to take risk. A champion is a person who has the courage to fight the bureaucracy when it stands in the way of satisfying the customer. A champion is someone who believes in their convictions and stands up to the naysayers and others in the company who try to preserve the status quo. A champion is committed to total quality. I can guarantee you that every organization represented in this room, regardless of your gross sales, regardless of your product or service, regardless of the number of people you employ, every organization here has someone who wants to assume the role of championing quality in your company. The key is for you and your senior managers to create an environment that fosters quality champions. In our book, Winnie and I share the story of Gordon Mckenzie, a quality champion at Ford Motor Company, who took a demotion to manage the rejuvenation of Ford's Lincoln Mercury division. Mckenzie was a great cheerleader and boosted employee morale. He tried to acknowledge the good works of his employees instead of criticizing them for their mistakes. According to Don Peterson, the former chairman of Ford Motor Company, who hired Gordon Mckenzie for this job, it was Mckenzie's positive attitude and spirit of teamwork that was responsible for the Lincoln Mercury recovery. How do you foster such an environment in your company? The answer to this question has 3 parts. First, you must encourage your employees to take risk. I'm talking about the kinds of risks that save the day for your customers. I'm talking about making heroes instead of martyrs out of your people whenever they change the rules or even break the rules in order to satisfy a customer. Here's an example of how a business successfully applied Rules 1 and 2. One evening, while eating dinner at a restaurant in Santa Barbara, California, with my family, my 7-year-old daughter requested vanilla ice cream for dessert. The waiter said they had no vanilla ice cream, but if we could wait just a few minutes, he would send his assistant next door to the Haagen-Dazs ice cream store, and he would get a quart of vanilla ice cream. Would that be enough? Would we mind waiting a few minutes? In the meantime, he gave my daughter a very generous piece of chocolate cake. I even ate some of it. Well, the ice cream was worth the wait, and needless to say, we recommended this restaurant many, many times. By the way, they now carry vanilla ice cream on their dessert menu. Not only did our waiter break the rules, but he also raised the quality standards for the restaurant. He championed the quality process. The second way to create quality champions in your company is to examine every policy and procedure that gets in the way of employee performance, and then get rid of those rules and policies because they are costing you customers and lost revenue. I can't begin to count the number of ridiculous rules, policies, and procedures I've encountered that prohibit, restrict, or deter employees from satisfying their customers. Most companies think they need volumes of rules and procedures to ensure their employees get it right the first time. However, most rules and policies and procedures have just the opposite effect. They restrict your employees from satisfying the customer. And furthermore, these same rules and policies discourage your employees from even trying to satisfy their customers. It creates a lose-lose proposition. Nobody wins. Take the bad example of the Sears Roebuck Company. For years, Sears was the respected world leader among all retail stores. Today, Sears is struggling to maintain its once loyal customer base. The problem, as I see it from a customer perspective, is three things. First, Sears ignored its price-conscious, customer-oriented competition. Retail giants, including Walmart and Kmart, quietly crept up on Sears and hired customer-friendly employees who were knowledgeable about their products. Secondly, Sears replaced its aging workforce with younger, less knowledgeable employees who didn't know as much about Craftsman brand tools or the Kenmore refrigerators. Thus, the adult shopper was less likely to trust the judgment of younger people who were poorly trained and unable to answer basic questions about the benefits of buying a Sears product instead of a competitor's product. Thirdly, Sears allowed the appearance of its stores to look outdated and uninviting. While Sears was spending its money acquiring new businesses in the financial or the real estate and other non-retail markets, it did not have the necessary cash to upgrade its retail stores. The competition took full advantage of this mistake, and as a result, Sears is no longer revered as the #1 retailer in the minds of American consumers. If you want to create quality champions in your organization, champions who will inspire other employees to exceed their customers' expectations on a consistent basis, then burn your policy manuals and rule book and start anew. Nordstrom, the successful retail operation headquartered in Seattle, Washington, did exactly this. Their management adopted one rule for employees: use common sense and do what is in the best interest of the customer and your store. Let your employees think for themselves. Empower them to succeed. I've never met a single employee who, when asked a question by a customer, stopped to consult the employee rule book or company policy manual. No, instead the employee used their common sense and did whatever he thought was in the best interest of the company and the customer. And yet, we handcuff our employees and we treat them like children. And then we expect them to be peak performers and quality champions. It's ludicrous. But I think there is a deeper issue here, and that issue is trust. I think we need to ask ourselves, do we really trust our people? If you don't trust your people, then of course you will need volumes of rules for your employees to enforce. But if you tell me that you do trust your employees, that they are good, decent, honest, hard-working men and women who exercise good judgment and practice the core values and virtues of the company, then I must ask you, why don't you let them use their brains and talents on the job? Why not empower them to do whatever it takes to satisfy their customers? Why not trust them to succeed? Did you ever wonder how your employees get to work? Think about this for a moment. It's a rather humorous scenario. First, we hire people to work for us, which means they must meet our quality standards, correct? Then, without giving the matter a second thought, we expect them to awake each morning, get showered and shaved and dressed, and eat breakfast, take their children to school, and somehow find their way to the office on time. Let me ask you, how many rules and procedures do you have in your employee handbook concerning all of this pre-work preparation and grooming? I hope the answer is none. And yet, don't the overwhelming majority of your employees arrive at work on time and properly dressed? Don't they get their kids dressed and off to school as well? So why is it that once they arrive at work, we tie their hands behind the backs with restrictive rules and procedures that prevent them from serving their internal and external customers? And there is still one more question I must ask of you. If your people are not trained to use their brains and talents, why not? A manager's primary job is to grow his or her people. I can always tell whether or not a company is quality driven by the number of managers who are mentoring employees and grooming employees to rise up through the ranks in an organization. This is the case at Federal Express, Disney, Motorola, and AT&T. Let me encourage you to create quality champions by re-examining your rules, strip away any rules that make it difficult for the customer to do business with you. Return policies, check cashing regulations, credit reports, and unnecessary paperwork are all examples of customer frustration. The third way to create quality champions in your company is to reward and recognize the efforts of people who are making a difference. It's not enough to encourage change and burn the rule book. You must formally and informally recognize people for their efforts. Employee anniversaries, birthday celebrations, weddings, the birth of a child, and other major occasions in the life of your employees should be acknowledged and celebrated. Make your company part of the employee's family. This endears the company to the employee and encourages longevity. The outstanding companies, and there are many represented here today, the outstanding companies welcome the opportunity to celebrate the achievements and efforts of their quality champions. Their managers look for the small wins and shower public praise on their top performers. This is the way you encourage your people to excel and take risks. This is how you grow people and create a quality organization internally. This leads me to rule number 3, which is based on the golden rule. Rule 3, you must honor your words and promises to your customers and employees. In my first book, The Spirit of Service, I wrote that every successful company must master the 3 R's. They are reputation, reliability, and relationships. As Winnie Schaefer and I began researching our new book, we realized that the 3 R's were still relevant and, in fact, a cornerstone to creating a customer-focused, quality-driven company. Fleetwood Enterprises of Riverside, California, which manufactures mobile homes and recreational vehicles, practices the 3 R's. It is a company that is built on tradition, but maintains its reputation through its quality products and its positive relationships with its customers and employees. In closing, let me share with you an example of how a company can achieve quality by applying my 3 rules of quality and focusing on the human side of quality. My example is the story of the Cadillac Motor Car division of General Motors. Cadillac was built on a legacy of superior craftsmanship and unsurpassed quality. Then, in the 1980s, Cadillac appeared to lose its touch. Radical redesign, changes coupled with a rash of stringent emission standards and fuel economy requirements caught Cadillac and other American makers off guard. For the first time in its proud history, Cadillac failed to meet its customers' expectations. Its image was in jeopardy. Other luxury car makers took advantage of Cadillac's stumble and pounced on its market share with devastating results. The company was out of touch with its customers, and its cars were faulted for their clumsy design, poor mileage, and inferior quality. In 1985, after 6 years of drifting and searching for answers, Cadillac turned to a strategy that transformed its culture through quality and customer satisfaction. Cadillac began to examine its culture and how it communicated its values to its customers and employees. In the process of this self-examination, Cadillac found that it wasn't honoring its promises to employees and customers. Management responded by re-examining its customer relationships, creating new design teams, starting quality circles, empowering employees to make major design changes, and listening to the needs and suggestions of its customers through focus group sessions. At the same time, Cadillac analyzed its reputation, reliability, and relationships at all levels and decided to reinvent the way it treated employees and customers, as well as its product development and quality processes. Cadillac found that by putting the emphasis on its people, by allowing them to offer suggestions for quality improvement, by diffusing the issues of labor versus management, by recognizing the customer and building employee pride and self-esteem, by doing all these things, the company's productivity and quality increased. On the other hand, when the emphasis was placed on increasing company profits and haggling over the percentages, both the customers and employees lost focus. In turn, quality declined. So Cadillac went back to the drawing board and started to burn the rule book and allow employees and customers to have some say. 5 years later, Cadillac's persistence paid off. Cadillac's transformation through its people, systems, processes, and products earned Cadillac the 1990 Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, the most prestigious quality award in the United States.